I wish I could remember what it was like to feel completely and 100% joyous and happy. I more often feel alone and scared than I do anything else. I have experienced depression, I've experienced mania, I've experienced massive inflates of my ego. I have this overwhelming feeling of dread that I can't get rid of. I feel just so awful all the time. I feel like a piece of shit. The world feels so heavy and all my tasks feel so heavy. Like I don't know what I'm escaping. I don't know what I'm trying to hide. And I don't want to be stuck with this feeling. I feel like there's no escape. Life is so long. And it's so big. And I just want to know where I fit into place in all of it. I want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Hello. So, I quit social media forever, and I think this was a long time coming. I have had multiple attempts in the past to try and quit that have been unsuccessful. I have been off of social media for almost 3 weeks now, and I have some valuable insights into how to do it, why I did it, and the challenges I faced during that. It's not easy if you haven't tried before, but I have some things to share with you that I hope will help you as well on your journey. First, I just want to discuss kind of how I got to this point of utter resentment towards social media. When I was a young teen, I struggled a lot with comparing myself to others. My entire identity was based around what people thought of me and how I could make them like me. And it didn't matter what I had to do. I would go and I would do it. I remember this starting probably as young as like 12. I dyed my hair and bleached it, not because I really wanted to or because I really thought it would look good, but sorry, my dogs were barking. But I didn't really want to change myself. I kind of just assumed that if I did so, people would like me more. Because most of the girls in my class were doing it, and I wanted to fit in. I had a very difficult time with bullying growing up that I think contributed to this. But this went on for years and years of me just constantly comparing myself to others. And I would waste my energy constantly comparing myself to these people that I saw online. It was people that I knew, it was people that I didn't know, but all the same, I was just comparing myself and asking myself what I had to do physically to be like these people. I was very vulnerable, and really the only thing that mattered to me was my visual presentation of myself, which I still struggle with to this day. I still struggle with being perceived, period. I don't like knowing that people can know me and like look at me and evaluate me in public and in other settings. So after using social media as essentially like this was my lifeline. All I wanted was to fit in, was to be popular, was for people to like me, for people to say that I looked good, for people to acknowledge me and want to be friends with me. And after using it for such intensely harmful reasons at such a young age, I started to lose interest in my hobbies. And I actually wouldn't say loss of interest. I think it was more loss of importance. I thought the most important thing was how these people looked at me. And so I started pulling back and not trying things for fear of what other people would say. I left chess club. I stopped playing basketball and blamed it on an injury. I stopped doing many things that I thought would make men not like me. I didn't change my hair certain colors because I thought that people, like, dudes wouldn't like me that way. I stopped doing certain hobbies. I stopped saying certain things. I stopped being too opinionated, stopped being too loud. I compressed myself into this neatly woven box that could be consumed easily. Because it was easy to not have to go be confronted. What I do remember is just wanting so badly to be mature. I wanted to be older than I was. I was 13, 14, and I don't know if you guys remember these posts, like early, like 2016, 17 Instagram of like, can you believe this girl is 13 years old, da 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 da. Really weird, really creepy, but my 13-year-old mind was like, I want to be one of those girls that people go, oh my god, she's 13? And it's so sad to me now because I felt so much older than I was. And I was just a baby. I just wanted to be easily digestible. I wanted to be normal. I placed no value on my skills. I didn't think they mattered. And it didn't matter that I could draw. It didn't matter that I could play chess. It didn't matter that I was into astronomy. It didn't matter because that wasn't the most important thing. And I would do these things, but not with the passion that I used to possess. And I found myself growing very, very unhappy starting at 15. I got insanely depressed. I couldn't figure out why. I was like, what's wrong with me? I thought there was something severely wrong with me because I just couldn't be happy. So I spent almost 5 years seeking that happiness through other people, constantly comparing myself on social media, asking myself, what can I fix? 4 months after I turned 18, I moved out of the country for school. And during that era, I just remember feeling like I just had no idea who I was. I was completely lost. I thought that moving away would cure everything, and obviously it didn't. You follow yourself wherever you go. I was focusing on all of these aspects of myself that were not the problem. The problem was that all of my values were shallow. They were based on appearances. They were based on partying and fucking, having fun and quick fixes of dopamine to help cure me that would end up sending me further down. And I eventually just got so deep into this hole that, like, there was nothing I could do. I was like, what do I do? I didn't pursue knowledge. I didn't pursue my passions. I lost all of my inspiration. I lost all of my self-esteem, my self-worth, my motivation. And that's where I decided that I needed to move back home. I moved back home this February, and since then I have gone through an immense amount of transforming. Like, I am a completely different person than I was even like a month ago. Completely different. As I started to lose people during this very tumultuous period that has been the last couple of months or so, I began to have more and more and more alone time. And I thought I was a person that was very comfortable with being alone, with being by myself, until I realized I was doing everything to avoid it. I was doing everything I could to avoid confronting myself. I thought I was just broken. I thought I was born this way. I was like, well, this is forever, I guess. I'm just built like this. I don't get to be happy. I don't get to enjoy things. I'm just sad and alone. And that's very dark, but that's how I felt. But as I began to sit more and more in my alone time, I started going back into like social media again, like doom scrolling, like just going on there to stalk people, to scroll, explore page, like for you page, TikTok shop, weird, like just consumerist bullshit. And I couldn't figure out why I was so sad. It was right in front of me, Morgan, obviously. You wake up, you spend the first hour of your day on TikTok, you get coffee, you scroll Instagram, it's time for work, you go to work, you get home, you go on TikTok, it's time for bed. No shit. You don't feel good. You're not committing yourself to anything. You are becoming, not to be vulgar, but a waste of space. And that's not necessarily, of course you're not a waste of space. Everyone is valuable, but that's how I felt. I felt like a waste. I felt like I was wasting my life, and I smacked this label on myself and just said depressed. She's depressed. There's nothing I can do. I reached a point about 3 weeks ago where I decided that I had enough. I didn't want to be part of this. I wanted to figure out what was going on, to really sit with myself and to be honest with myself. Confront my flaws, confront the things that I haven't been doing, and have it be okay, because you're allowed to change. You should never be holding labels onto yourself, because we are creatures who thrive off of change, that thrive off of moving and shifting, and I don't know, being flexible. Once you put a label on yourself, you're throwing that all away. So this is kind of when I decided, I was like, I'm going to force myself to be with myself. The first thing that I ran into was, what do I do with my time? In order to figure out what to do with my time, I had to ask myself, how did I used to spend my days before I had anything? What did I love? What are the things that I began to commit to, but then lost interest in? And I made a list. I think this is really helpful for anybody who's looking to do this. This is my journal. Isn't she pretty? So first, in order to figure out what I wanted to do with my time, I had to get back into my core and my soul, I guess, if you want to look at it spiritually. And I had to identify my values. I wrote down helpfulness, kindness and compassion, strength, work/moving forward, spirituality, creativity, honesty, and loyalty. I think it's really important to first identify your values, because these are traits that are inherent to you. Your values might get replaced by other ones, but there's a certain set of core values that you have possessed since you were a child that you still possess today, and most likely will possess until you die. So based on my values, I had to identify how these values were present in the things that I was going to do with my time. Because when you're contributing to your core and your center, you're feeding your soul. These are the things that will always be with you. And when you do things in favor of them, you feel good. When you are honest with somebody, if it's your value, even though it's difficult, you feel better afterwards because you're honest. You don't have that guilt of like, I'm not holding true to my values. Essentially what I'm doing in this is identifying a hobby that I used to do, identifying the bigger picture of it, and then thinking of how, with my values, how it expands into my bigger picture. I hope this is making sense. I tend to talk in circles, so I'm sorry if this is hard to follow. Going back to the grand scheme of this video, I began to slowly reincorporate my old hobbies. One thing that really helped me start, because I know that some goals are extremely, they feel so far-fetched. They feel like, well, I'll never get that, you know, it'll take forever, you know, I want to own my own brand. Thinking about that is like, holy shit, how will I ever own my own brand? Like, I'm here, and there's so much that I have to do before that happens. But once you start tackling those little steps, the wheel will start to turn, and it'll keep going faster, and you will slowly develop more inspiration and motivation to do the thing that you want to achieve, the more that you feel that you are contributing. To see it, and to see it start to happen, is a really motivating thing. So I think one important thing is to like write down what you can do now in order to get towards those goals. For example, I have, you know, for my launch of my brand that I'm working on, get back into sewing, start with upcycled garments, sell one-of-one pieces, and use that money to contribute towards inclusivity and larger brand reach. You know, write a book. I recently started compiling some poetry that I've built up over the years, and I'm almost ready to print this book. I just began by compiling my entries in a Google Doc and going from there. Chess ranking, like I'm trying to increase my ranking on chess. So I wrote playing and studying openings, closings, defenses before bed, 30 minutes at least a night. Making small steps towards the things that you want to achieve will solidify in your mind that you are capable of doing them. And with the absence of social media, You have so much time now. There is no choice. You have to fill up this time. You can either choose to sit and wallow and sit in front and watch YouTube or fucking scroll on Pinterest, because I keep those apps on my phone. I know a lot of people do when they quit social media, because Pinterest is like, it's Pinterest, guys. It's different. You can choose to do that, or you can choose to start going for it. Just go for it. Now you have the time. It baffled me when I quit social media how much time there is in a day. How much I spent wasting and rotting away. There's so much time in a day. More than you think. There's more than you think. It only takes an hour a day to contribute to your little steps. That's all you need. In these increments that I've spent during these 3 weeks, I have gotten so much done. I have seen the fruits of my labor, and it's a really beautiful thing, and I would like you to experience that as well. So I encourage you to just start doing it. Also in this, I began to look at shadow work. I have been doing a lot of shadow work to kind of understand why I stopped doing some of these things. When I first started sewing again, there was this big anxiety that I felt draping again for the first time, and I couldn't figure out why. And the second that I felt that anxiety, there was a voice inside me that was like, well, maybe it's just not for you. Like, you should just quit. You should give up. You know, the little annoying one that I'm sure many people have. But I heard that voice. And instead of listening to it and going, oh, okay, you know, I guess I'll never do these things, you know, I'm just not cut out for it, I went straight to my journal. And I started to write down what exactly I was feeling. This is the entry that I wrote while feeling this fear before sewing. This immense, overwhelming anxiety that I could not pinpoint or figure out why I was feeling it. I have lived my life in complete fear of failure. So when I do, it really fucks me up. Last time I sewed was finals week, December 2023. I made a lot of really terrible decisions during this time. Fashion is something I want so bad. My brand is a dream I've had for years, and every year I tell myself this will be the year, and it never is. I have some sort of major mental block when it comes to sewing, and I always find myself making all of these excuses. I don't have the space. I don't have the right equipment. I've never done something like this before. What if I fail? And what if? You have the strength to try again, and the thing is, I will fail. I will mess up. It may take me longer to do certain things, but if I really want it, I can't just sit on my ass and expect it to appear on my lap. If I started today, where would I be 2 years from now? How badly do you want this? So, speaking to yourself sternly and really being honest with yourself, I think is extremely helpful, because since then, I have made 2 pieces, and I have rediscovered this flame that I have for sewing and for creating clothing. Now, I would like to get into how you can do it. If you are looking to quit social media and it seems overwhelming and it seems like something that, you know, I just can't do, let me try and guide you. Ask yourself these questions. What did I do before I got a phone? Some of these things could be irrelevant, but some of them may be key to reconnecting to your inner child, because really that's where passion comes from. It comes from a place of, you know, satisfying this child within you and getting back into what you loved so much growing up. And for some people, their habits and hobbies form later in life. But I think that for a lot of people, there is a stable ground that you just have to dig to find out, like, what is my foundation? What did I like to do, you know? And I think with a lot of these things, people don't get into them and begin to do them because it's like, oh, I don't feel like it, you know? I don't have time. I don't feel like it. It's gonna take forever. I haven't done it in forever. I'm rusty. If you constantly live in fear, and you constantly live in fear of failing, you're never gonna do shit. You're not gonna do anything. I was scared as shit when I started sewing again, but it didn't stop me. But the important thing is to do it even if you don't feel like it. Just try. Just start. Nobody likes exercising. Even people who work out all the time, you know, lift weights and stuff, they have days where they're like, ugh, I don't want to go. But then they go, and then they feel better. Sometimes your mind feels so powerful, and it's so important to realize that your thoughts are just thoughts. That's all they are. You have the will to get up. I can say, I can't raise my right hand right now, and I just raised my right hand. You can do things even if you're scared, even if you're annoyed, even if you're sad, even if you're angry. You can do these things. Trust and believe. I have to force myself to do things every single day still, like certain things I don't feel like doing. And now if this voice in my head is telling me like, oh, I can't do it, I make an active point to go and do that thing right then. If I say, oh, I can't do the dishes, go do the dishes. Oh, I can't practice French right now. I can't, I just can't. I go practice French. I can't journal. I go journal. I can't read, I can't focus. I go and read. And it's like, I do it. And then I feel better. And it's like your voice, this mental voice can feel so real and so debilitating, but it's just a voice. That's all it is. You can either choose to listen to it and give it power, or stand up and go do the thing anyways. It is your decision. If you are in a really dark, deep, dark place, and you really feel like you cannot do shit, not even shower, not, you know, get up and pee out of the bed, I've been there. I get it. And I'm not discounting you guys. There are little things that you can still do. You think, I don't want to, like, I can't get out of bed, or I absolutely cannot go take a shower. Make it a point to at least sit up in your bed. Show yourself that you can sit up. And go lay back down if you need to. And then, once you start to do that, little by little, you show yourself that this voice doesn't need to block you. And it doesn't need to control your life. I think another important question is, what are my triggers? You know, how can I face my triggers without sacrificing my commitment? And by that I mean, there are certain things that are going to influence you into feeling like you want to go back to social media. This goes for anything. If you quit smoking, there are certain triggers, certain things that you see that make you want to start smoking again. And it's important to identify these. So here's a list of reasons that you might be feeling why you cannot quit social media. FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. You don't want to miss something that everyone's talking about. Needing to keep track of people. Do you find yourself consistently stalking people that you should not be wasting your energy on? I think that stalking in general, really, there's no point. It's wasted energy. That starts to alter your perception of people as well. It influences how you talk to people, how you interact with the world. Because when you're stalking somebody, you're judging them, right? Most of the time people stalk people who are like exes, ex-friends, people you've fallen out with. Sometimes stalking is pretty innocent, like you stalk a person you used to go to high school with and you're like, oh shit, I haven't seen them in however many years, but even then, it's still wasted energy. You could be using that time to like commit to other things. More reasons why you can't quit. A distraction from an unmet need / unfaced problem. Are you running away from something? Are you using this as an escape? And be very honest with yourself. Because a lot of the times, you don't even know that you are escaping. You've become so used to it that it just is. You feel uncomfortable, you start to be alone, and you feel yourself getting anxious. I'm gonna fucking go and scroll. Like, lastly, need for validation. If you're constantly, you know, uploading a story so that someone will see it, so that they'll like the story, and so you can say like, oh, well, they like me, you know, that kind of thing. Or posting on Instagram, scrolling through the comments, seeing how many comments there are, how many likes you have. You're not doing that for you. That is for validation from other people. Like, this is another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration. They think that they are an exception. A lot of the times, you don't even know that you're doing this. So it's very important to make sure that your usage and your time is spent for the right reasons. I used to be very afraid to quit social media too, I think, because I was so afraid of being bored. People are so afraid of feeling bored. But boredom is one of the most essential human emotions that you can feel. How do you think that most inventions came about? Because we were bored. Think about cars. If we had had fucking TikTok algorithm back then, we might have not had cars. Humans are supposed to be bored, is my point. And boredom gives you the time to actually execute ideas, because you have time, because you're bored. Like, how do you think I'm able to do this video now? I was bored, and I decided I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel. So I'm just gonna go do it. I'm gonna create an outline, and I'm going to execute it. So here are some productive ways that I spend my boring time. I've touched on some of these already, but I will go through my list, and maybe there are things that you're like, oh, I would love to start doing that. Reading, chess, sewing, drawing, exercise, writing, journaling, cleaning, science videos / astronomy, language learning, learning instruments, and new films. There's so much more that you could do as well, but I fill up entire days with these things, and I don't have time to do most of the things that I want to do now. Like, when I first started this journey, it was so hard for me to be like, okay, now what do I do? But now it's like, okay, now I gotta go do my poetry book, and then I'm also gonna go do my sewing, and then I actually am gonna go read for a bit, then I'm gonna walk, and then I'm gonna do some shadow work, and then I'm gonna cook myself a nice meal, then I have to clean my room, then I clean the bathroom, and it's like, there's so much that you realize that you could be doing. So here are some benefits that I have felt since quitting social media. Less anxiety, better sleep, more focus, cleaner environment, progressing my skill set and knowledge, better memory, saving money. The future for me and social media is a little bit blurry right now, I'll be honest. So I do plan on being off of the doom scrolling aspect of social media forever. I will never be sitting in my bed scrolling for 4 hours. I refuse. I feel too good in doing what I'm doing right now to do that. But I have a job and a career that kind of forces me to be on social media sometimes, but I will not be even touching it for at least another 6 months. And I have some rules that I have preset for when I do re-download these apps. Deleting my app after posting, so I would post and then gone. That's it. It's gone. Don't look at it, don't check the comments, don't check the likes. Post it and leave. Absolutely no scrolling of any kind, no looking at posts of any kind, no explore page, for you page, stories, nothing. You might be thinking like, well, what if I want to go check on people? What if I want to like see how they're doing? Text them. Call them. The people that you really care about, like, you should either go get their number or you should already have their number. Text them and call them. I still keep in contact with all of my friends. Only post during launches, during production, they stay off my phone. So right now I'm in my production period. While creating, I will not be utilizing social media. That is really all I have to share today. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that I inspired you, and I hope that I gave you some insight into how you can begin your non-social media journey. I really encourage, especially creatives, to take a step back. I think all people will benefit from, if not a forever quit, at least a cleanse. It's so much more damaging than a lot of people make it out to be, and it's become so normalized. But this hyper-reality is not reality. We forget that there is an entire world out there. That is all I have to say. Thank you for watching. If you like me, you can subscribe, and I will probably post again. I don't have like a schedule for posting. I'm just going to post when I get ideas. And I do have a couple ideas like stacked up, so maybe once every like couple weeks or so I'll release a little video. I have some video essays I'd like to do, so if you would like to stay tuned, stay tuned. And if you don't like me, you can go, and that's okay too. That is all I have. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully.